On the surface, this next story seems like a big deal until you actually look at the amounts that are involved here and you realize what a slap on the wrist it really is. And it just was Disney paying to make something inconvenient go away. And that is that Disney will be paying $10 million to settle an FTC privacy allegation over labeling of children's video on YouTube. So let's see what this says here. The Walt Disney Company will pay $10 million to settle allegations over the labeling of children-focused videos onto YouTube, the Federal Trade Commission said on Tuesday. According to the FTC complaint filed by the Justice Department, Disney allegedly violated the Children's Online Policy Privacy Protection Rule by failing to properly label the YouTube uploaded videos as made for kids. The FTC said it enabled the collection of data from children under 13, which is a big no-no. The videos at issue date from the 2020 to 2022 period, according to the FTC complaint filed by the Justice Department. A Disney spokesperson said, supporting the well-being and safety of our kids and families is at the heart of what we do. This settlement does not involve Disney-owned and operated digital platforms, but rather is limited to the distribution of some of our content on YouTube's platform. Disney has a long tradition of embracing the highest standards of compliance with children's privacy laws, and we remain committed to investing in the tools needed to continue being a leader in this space. So is that them putting the blame on YouTube?
I do believe it is. I do believe it is. And this may be a shocker here, but I do as well.
There was a settlement in 2019 where YouTube was required to pay out quite a bit. And then it started requiring that content creators must indicate if videos are uploaded are made for kids or not made for kids. So yeah, we also have this story up on thatparkplace.com. So you can check it out there as well if you want to do it without all of those intrusive ads popping up on Deadline. But Jonas, I'm interested in your take on this because, like you said, you're blaming YouTube and not Disney.
Right. So this is something you and I have had a discussion about this. We've both been through the filing here, and more details have come out since the conversation that you and I had. But basically, YouTube will auto-classify lots of things as made for kids, regardless of whether or not they're made for families. So I would say a $100 million family film, I don't think it's fair for YouTube to come in and say, well, this is made for kids. It's made for kids. It's technically a kid could watch it and be fine, and therefore it's made for kids.
But wait. Look, I normally I don't push back too much on the show, but here I'm going to. I am responsible for labeling my content accurately. I am. I have to select whether or not it is made for kids to fall underneath the COPPA thing. It says so very specifically in the creator side of the window, folks. So I never make anything for kids, obviously, because, I'm rallying about the neo-Marxism that's being, pushed by companies like Disney and the anti-American sentiment and all of that. That's not
That was the Culture Casino said Marxism bell.
That's right. I have a bell. I haven't said gynocentric yet, so we're good. But I push back against these types of elements, and I have to label my videos as not for kids. All of my videos are labeled as not for kids. And then I double check to make sure I don't include children in any of the images or videos that go out there, because that's also a no-no. So Disney immediately should be responsible for this, because I am. Why wouldn't Disney be? I'm not going to throw the blame onto YouTube. YouTube has made an assumption that most adult Americans would make, which is this. It's Disney. It's family friendly. No, it's definitely not. Disney is no longer family friendly. They hate families. They just want a bunch of 50-year-old dinks to wander around their parks and watch their material. And that's why we end up with lesbian space witches. That's just the way it is.
Well, those lesbian space witches are not on YouTube right now. We're talking about the Disney catalog that is available on YouTube as a purchased item. Like Coco is not something that you can just not log into an account, search on YouTube, and find legally.
Well, I know I'm mixing stories, and I know we'll probably get to it, but you want to talk about the fact that Sesame Street's going to have to look at some of the material they've produced?
Yeah, and some of that, in my opinion, is not appropriate for children's, but
boom shakalaka.
But that's a little different than a classic Disney film from 2018. I don't know, when was the last year that Lasseter was still making content for them. The made for kids stuff is basically you check that and it goes directly to the YouTube Kids platform there. So I've seen some creators who have family friendly channels that would stop making content altogether if you classify it as made for kids. That's fine. Sure. That's fine. That's a tragedy for them as YouTubers. But when we're talking about something that is family friendly as opposed to made for kids, the weird gender stuff and the weird agenda stuff notwithstanding, there is a portion of this that if there's a movie from 1958 that happens to be clean enough that a kid could watch it, should that be classified as made for kids?
Yes.
No.
Why?
If it's for grown-ups, it should not be classified as made for kids if you put it on the platform. Anything that could possibly be watched by a kid should not be classified as made for kids.
I guess that's my point. It's Disney's responsibility in dropping that content to label it. Yes. That is incumbent upon me. It should be incumbent upon major corporation.
Well, what there probably should be is two different classifications: acceptable for a child to watch and specifically aimed at children, which I don't think Disney qualifies as when they're trying to make films that appeal across generations. Now, they've got Coco Melon over there on Disney Plus now. If they happen to somehow buy Candle Media and also Kevin Mayer with it, and decide to put Coco Melon on YouTube, imagine that. That would very specifically need to be labeled as made for kids.
Yeah, right. I think that's going to be hard to deal with because, again, Song of the South was made for kids.
Right.
Well, it's a family movie, though. It's a difference between like a family movie and something like Miss Rachel, which is specifically preschooler content that, you're meant to put the kids in front of and walk away. But
let them be projected.
Right, which we obviously do not endorse on this channel, anything that Miss Rachel's doing, because there's probably an episode of Everything Woke that could be done on Miss Rachel right now. So here's the thing that made me change my mind about my initial stance that Disney should not have to pay this $10 million fine. By the way, I think we're all in agreement that $10 million settlement is go away money.
It's a rounding error.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I think it's insufficient.
So, and it may be so. In this case, YouTube automatically classified a bunch of Disney content as made for kids. And then Disney came through and relabeled them as not made for kids. So that was when YouTube pushed the responsibility onto Disney. So I do think this is something where Disney is not doing as nefarious of a thing as we would often assign to them. But still, I used to think it is YouTube's fault. No, I think this is Disney's fault. But still, $10 million because your content is okay for children to watch, but is intended for an entire family to watch. I don't know. I think it's a little silly.
Now, what happens when you label something as made for kids, which is one thing we haven't explained that I think the audience needs some context on? You can't present targeted ads on that content. You can't watch it in the background while doing other things, and it doesn't collect any personal information, right, Jonas?
Right, which is fine. And here's the other thing: is YouTube, you're supposed to be above the age of 13 in order to have an account on YouTube, anyways. Right. So this would be an adult, presumably, handing over their YouTube account to someone else. So again, parents' fault at this point. If there's, if I'm ever going to have any firm stance here, it's parental responsibility over Disney responsibility, because Disney is not your parents. Disney is not supposed to be making these decisions for you. They should make clean content that's acceptable to everyone, but it's the parents' responsibility in that case.
I agree. It's like, somebody brought up like, well, like you always come down on Disney when they make things that aren't for kids, but Universal does Halloween Horror Nights and you like that. I said, yeah, because it's properly labeled. It's labeled as being for adults. And at that point, if you bring a child to it, that's on you as the parent. So
Exactly. A long time ago, Disney stopped being a family-friendly label. In fact, if you look at their filings since the Nelson Peltz debacle happened, they very clearly want Disney to include everything that's on Hulu, everything they're getting Emmy Awards for. And they're not getting Emmy Awards for cleanest family-friendly content. They're getting Emmy Awards for filthy things and things that are TVMA or worse. Also, if you want to watch anything Marvel right now, this is a funny one to me. If you go on to Disney Plus and you happen to have a Hulu subscription, by the way, I did not turn this setting on. It was turned on for me. Honora, a rated R film about, let's say, a woman of the night, and we're not talking about Maleficent here. That is a rated R film, and if you want to be able to watch Daredevil or anything TVMA that's in the Marvel, once every episode or so they'll throw in a dirty word to make sure you're not watching one of them kid shows. If you want to watch anything that's TVMA on the platform, that is above R. So Honora, that content is classified as underneath some Marvel content as far as Disney's filtering for kids here. So the whole situation across the board is messed up here, but I don't think Coco being labeled as not made for kids on YouTube is really that big of a deal. So I think that the FTC owes them $10 million. That's my opinion.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.